Lovers' Vows by August von Kotzebue, adapted by Elizabeth Inchbald. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Preface.
Read by Rigby J.M. It would appear like affectation to offer an apology for any scenes or passages omitted or added in this play different from the original. Its reception has given me confidence to suppose what I have done is right, for Kotzebue's Child of Love in Germany was never more attractive than Lovers' Vows has been in England. I could trouble my reader with many pages to disclose the motives which induced me to alter, with the exception of a few commonplace sentences only, the characters of Count Cassel, Amelia, and Verdun the butler. I could explain why the part of the Count, as in the original, would inevitably have condemned the whole play. I could inform my reader why I have portrayed the Baron in many particulars different from the German author, and carefully prepared the audience for the grand effect of the last scene in the fourth act by totally changing his conduct towards his son as a robber, why I gave sentences of a humorous kind to the parts of the two cottagers, why I was compelled on many occasions to compress the matter of a speech of 3 or 4 pages into one of 3 or 4 lines, and why, in no one instance, I would suffer my respect for Kotzebue to interfere with my profound respect for the judgment of a British audience. But I flatter myself, such a vindication is not requisite to the enlightened reader, who, I trust, on comparing this drama with the original, will at once see all my motives, and the dull admirer of mere verbal translation it would be vain to endeavour to inspire with taste by instruction. Wholly unacquainted with the German language, a literal translation of The Child of Love was given to me by the manager of Covent Garden Theatre to be fitted, as my opinion should direct, for his stage. This translation, tedious and vapid as most literal translations are, had the peculiar disadvantage of having been put into our language by a German. Of course it came to me in broken English. It was no slight misfortune to have an example of bad grammar, false metaphors and similes, with all the usual errors of feminine diction, placed before a female writer. But if, disdaining the construction of sentences, the precise decorum of the cold grammarian, she has caught the spirit of her author, if in every altered scene still adhering to the nice propriety of his meaning, and still keeping in view his great catastrophe, she has agitated her audience with all the various passions he depicted, the rigid criticism of the closet will be but a slender abatement of the pleasure resulting from the sanction of an applauding theatre. It has not been one of the least gratifications I have received from the success of this play, that the original German, from which it is taken, was printed in the year 1791, and yet that during all the period which has intervened no person of talents or literary knowledge, though there are in this country many of that description, who profess to search for German dramas, has thought it worth employment to make a translation of the work. I can only account for such an apparent neglect of Kotzebue's Child of Love by the consideration of its original unfitness for an English stage, and the difficulty of making it otherwise, a difficulty which once appeared so formidable that I seriously thought I must have declined it even after I had proceeded some length in the undertaking. Independently of objections to the character of the Count, the dangerous insignificance of the butler in the original embarrassed me much. I found if he was retained in the dramatis personae, something more must be supplied than the author had assigned him. I suggested the verses I have introduced, but not being blessed with the butler's happy art of rhyming, I am indebted for them, except the 7th and 11th stanzas in the first of his poetic stories, to the author of the prologue. The part of Amelia has been a very particular object of my solicitude and alteration. The same situations which the author gave her remain, but almost all the dialogue of the character I have changed. The forward and unequivocal manner in which she announces her affection to her lover in the original would have been revolting to an English audience. The passion of love represented on the stage is certain to be insipid or disgusting unless it
Sample complete. Ready to continue?